Year 9. It's Miss Steggles here, ready to talk to you about music GCSE. So to start us off, I thought I would chat to you a quick bit about the course. All music courses are pretty much the same. They all have 3 elements. So they have performing, composing, and there's always a listening exam. On our specification, Educas, performing is worth 30%, composing is worth 30%, which is both of those are your coursework elements. So 60% is practical work, and the last 40% is your exam. So in terms of performing, you're required to perform 2 pieces of music, one by yourself and the other as part of a group. In order to access the pass grades, you do need to be of at least a grade 3 standard by year 11. The second component is composing, and that's 30%. And as part of that unit, you'll be required to compose 2 pieces of music from scratch. All of the pieces are composed on the iMacs, which all of you know how to use really well already, which is really good. One piece is what we would call a free composition. That means it's one that you design, it's completely your choice. And the other is set by the exam board, and we call that your set brief. The listening and appraising exam is the most difficult part of the course. It's a lot of music theory, it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of writing, and as part of the exam, you'll be required to study 2 set works. The first, which is called Badineri by Bach, and the second, which is Africa by Toto. And as well as those 2 pieces of music, you study 4 areas. So the first is music for ensemble, then you have musical forms and devices, then popular music and film music. The exam is quite long, so it's 1 hour 45 minutes, and it assesses your music theory knowledge, your listening skills, how well you can write and analyze music. So there's quite complex skills required for that element. So why should you study music? There are loads of reasons. The majority of the time, the reason why people take music and choose it as an option is because they enjoy the creativity. Musicians are very unique beings. We think about things in completely different ways. We are often marketed as like the out-of-the-box thinker, the person that can think about things in a slightly abstract and different way, and that, as a result, makes musicians and creative types a really appealing person to employ. So obviously the making music, the interacting with others, the teamwork, the creativity of making your own piece of music, listening to loads of different types of music, all of those are really good for us, and they're really good skills to be able to have. But the transferable skills within there are things that you could take on to any career. And it is no surprise to some of you knowing that music is not the most easy subject in the world. It's quite difficult. It's not something that just comes straight away. It's not something that you can memorize. It's a skill that you have to make sure that you practice over time. So music, unsurprisingly, is quite taxing on the brain. So this is everything that happens when you are playing or listening to music. So it's a full brain workout, which I know some of you can feel that after you've had a lesson in music, because it does require a lot of effort and your brain is doing a lot of things. So if you have a look, your sensory, auditory and visual cortexes and prefrontal cortexes are all firing up. So that means when you're looking at music, that's part of your brain that's lighting up. When you're listening, that's the same. And when you're also when you're using your hands or your body to create music, that motivates one part as well. So your whole brain is working when you are listening and playing music. So that in itself should be an excellent reason to study music. What makes a good music student? Lots of you have asked me this question, which is really difficult because obviously everyone is different. Every student is different and everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. But here are my sort of summary points on what makes a good music student. So you should be able to play an instrument and sing to a good standard. You should enjoy thinking creatively, so thinking a little bit differently, getting to an idea in a different way to your partner. You need to be willing to practice your instrument at home or in school on a weekly basis in order to prepare for your performances. You will be willing to represent the school in performances. Lots of you do that already. And you will need to enjoy listening to and learning about all styles of music. In the course, we look at music from the very earliest music in the medieval era to the Renaissance, then to Baroque, classical, romantic era, 20th century. So all of the music that you listen to, it's not just pop music. It's not just stuff that you hear on the radio and TikTok. A lot of it is other styles that you may never have heard of before. So being open-minded as well is a huge thing that I would look for in a good music student. Some careers then that music can lead to. Lots of you will have seen our careers board that is on our in our music room, and lots of you have asked me questions about it and are quite fascinated by the different routes that you can go through. So here's a quick picture of all of the, I mean, it's not all of the different things, but there's lots of different things that you could do with a music qualification. So if we look first in the top right hand side, you look at business, you could go into PR, you could be into media and communication, you might be a manager for a band, you could be a publicist, you could be an agent, or you could look at the self-employed route, which might be that you might want to be a DJ or a composer, you might want to be a conductor for an orchestra, a teacher, someone that goes maybe a bit like Mr. Odson and Miss Dando, who go into schools and they teach the students how to play instruments. You could also look at other careers, like you might want to be a sound engineer, you might want to be a producer, you might want to look at sort of like software development and digital programming and all things like that. So there are lots and lots of different routes that you could go down if you wanted to use music in the future. The last thing that I wanted to leave you with was a few comments from some ex-students. So these students have left a few years ago and have taken music on to not only college but also degree level. So here they are. So here's Harry. Harry would have been year 11 when you were in year 7, and he's now studying a degree in music performance at Brighton Institute of Music, which is called BIM. And he sent me this. He said, I loved being part of a band in music and being able to feel a part of something. I found the coursework challenging, but at the same time, I found it really rewarding. If you're thinking about doing music, my advice would be to just go for it. The course gives you so much creative freedom and you find yourself doing work for fun rather than as a requirement. Furthermore, I found that music was a break from the chores of normal lessons and as a creative outlet for me where I could just let loose and have fun. The teachers are always so supportive and helpful, and I promise that if you choose music as a subject, you will not be disappointed. So Tom's next, and Tom said, I played guitar to grade 4 Trinity and I enjoyed music, as lessons were interesting and fun to experience. You learn how to improve your creative skills as well as other talented musicians succeeded in creating music. I found the theory side of music difficult. And Tom's given 3 top tips, and these are great top tips. 1, to not be afraid of making mistakes and experiment when making something. 2, to practice as much as you can, even if you feel like you're not getting any better at that moment in time. And 3, to ask questions, as many questions as you can, especially on theory, because that can get very confusing. Wise words. And the last one is Hannah. So Hannah is now studying vocal performance at the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford. And she said this: music was my favourite subject. I love writing songs with my own lyrics and performing. I was a member of choir since year 7, so it felt like a natural progression to do music GCSE. If you play an instrument or sing, do it. There are so many careers you can go into with music. If you enjoy writing songs like me, then you could be a lyricist or a producer. If you like the science behind music, then you could study music psychology and music therapy. The most difficult part of the course was the exam, but just make sure you consistently revise, even for the small tests, as it really helps in the long run. So There's a common theme there. You guys will see that most of what people love about music is the practical side, which is 60% of the qualification. So performing and composing is 60%, but that 40% is one of the most difficult parts. Okay. The exam is really tricky, but we do a lot of work with you in class to make sure that your knowledge is top notch and to make sure that you're fully prepared for the exam. So don't feel anxious about it. We really, really do help you to prepare. So the last thing I need to say is thank you. And I hope you will choose music.